What a wonderful season. I know, you were probably expecting some jokes or some snark, or even some snarky jokes to open the video. But the truth is, I'm just happy that we're getting to cover some great content today. And what a season it is. Season 2 of Taskmaster is the one where it felt like everything clicked within the production of the show, and it became what it was aspiring to be in its uneven, sweaty first season. Whereas that first season had 6 episodes, this one only had 5, and perhaps that's why it feels stuffed to the brim with everything that I personally love about the series. It seems Alex Horne and the other executive producers knew that they only had so much time. Well, either that or the low episode count implied the show might have been canceled, so they threw everything they had into it, and it worked. But it's more than that. The task writing genuinely became chef's kiss this year. I was genuinely considering doing a top 5 task this season instead of 3, this despite the lower episode count, but then decided against it because it would mean work. Of course, the series wouldn't be one of the all-timers without one of the all-time best casts, and I guess that makes John the worst of the best. Now, he's fine. In a lesser season, he might have even made it up to 4th place. I like him more as a regular on that British panel show 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, which, again, exists, I promise. But that show's all about puzzles and math equations, which allows John more of an opportunity to lean into his strengths as a comedian, which is being a big old dork. And that persona does not mesh well with the needs of Taskmaster, despite the fact that John does throw himself into most of the tasks with everything he's got. And he does have some great highlights, right? Like the horrifying Three Blind Mice music video, or when he threw all those objects into the tree to rescue Patatas.
Oh god, I'm not enjoying this.
But then there's the task where he's super racist, more on that later, so yeah. He's also badly paired with Richard in the team tasks, and would have been better served with an agent of chaos, someone like Joe. And I can't help but think that nearly all of his punchlines on the show are totally dad jokes. You know the type. Where he says it and then all but goes, let him come back, but he can't step on the red. Not great. Doc is the first of a very specific type of cast member on Taskmaster. He is an otherwise normal bloke who has walked into this world of anarchy and is both amused and a little bit horrified. In nearly every episode there will be a task where they cut back to him in the studio and he'll shake his head and say some variation of, I know, crazy, right? Even if he was not doing anything crazy at all. The fact that he brings an album by the Average White Band to a prize task and seems frustrated that no one backs him, it kind of says it all, right? That said, I like Doc. I know I just said this about John, but in a lesser series, he probably would rank higher. He takes his stage name from Christopher Lloyd's character in Back to the Future, which I think is awesome. He commits himself fully to the tasks, and one of the highlights of the season is that nursery rhyme music video where he reveals that he punched a dead fish so hard that the scales sliced into the skin of his fist. I mean, if that's not dedication, I don't know what is. This devotion to the tasks do backfire on him semi-regularly, the most cringeworthy being when he decided to sing to the mayor of Chesham, and the editors don't cut away for 45 seconds.
And though my pocket may be empty.
And then there's the whole potato in the golf hole incident. It's probably not a coincidence that both Doc and John voted against Joe getting the points, and now they're at the bottom of my ranking, because I am that bitch. Especially because there's a shot during Doc's turn on the task where his shoe is clearly touching the red green, and he didn't lose a single goddamn point. Cut to the tape. Boom! Is this as large of a miscarriage of justice as I'm making it out to be? Let me know in the comments below. The answer better be yes. But regardless, docking Joe and not taking the opportunity to bring Doc right down with him is a major missed opportunity for producers, and about as nonsensical as changing your contacts in the middle of a sentence. Rasheen walked so that Joe could run. Well, the metaphor would be more apt as follows. Rasheen stumbled so Joe could run for a few yards before stepping on a rake, falling forward and face-planting in the mud. Of all the silly fools we've had in all the seasons of Taskmaster, you can make a good case that Joe's performance here is definitive. It helps that his season-defining moment happens in the first episode. That aforementioned potato in the hole. Why does it sound dirtier the more I say it? I don't know. Anyway, we look at Joe and we see his persona. Then he subverts expectations by making the throw. Then it's immediately pulled away from him until you realize Joe needed that win in order to be able to even function as a human. Then Greg shows, maybe I'll show you some sympathy, and then takes it away from Joe anyway. It's as perfect a comedic sequence of events as you could ask for.
Fastest wins, your time starts now. Oh, we're off. But if I don't get it... There we go. Really emotional. I think that's the best thing I've ever done. Please don't take it away from me.
Then everything that happens after simply adds to the idea that Joe is the saddest of sad sacks. You think him wetly walking back into the house with pineapple juice leaking from his ass would play as strongly had we not seen that potato incident? Well, maybe.
I'm 40 years old, you know. Happy birthday.
But in most other cases, the comedy is heightened because of what happened in that first episode. What makes everything funnier is that it's clear Joe is a big old grump who doesn't want to be there and yet still finds himself fully invested in these stupid tasks. It's a variation on King Ramesh's shtick from last season, but he was competent and Joe, well, you know. I guess the only negative is that a little bit of Joe goes a long way, and the later episodes lean a little too hard in his persona. But that said, you know, he is an icon. I find it somehow fitting that I can say that and then only award him 3 points for his performance, but, you know, it feels right. So Richard's a gentle giant who quickly becomes the soul of Taskmaster. Richard's always fascinating to watch. Though there were moments of contestants outthinking the tasks in the first season, or at least trying to, Richard's hack of the yoga balls on the hill challenge is a major, major watershed moment in the series.
Quite steep, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah. I was so tempted to use this as a sledge. Done. It's really steep.
It's that moment in Jurassic Park, you know, where you realize the velociraptors can open doors. And up until that scene, every contestant was simply a monkey performing for Alex and Greg. But Richard's ingenious thinking allowed the show to become a battle of wills between the two, adding a complexity to the conversation that simply wasn't there before. That said, if he needs to, he'll just go for it. He's the only contestant to eat that raw egg, and does it without even a moment of hesitation. What stands out most to me about Richard's personality is what a gentleman he is. He's very funny, but rarely in a demeaning way. You can tell he genuinely likes and respects the other contestants. He has chemistry with everyone, particularly Catherine. Watching them quietly react to one another in the intros and outros of the tasks, like two kids on a playground, it was just a joy to watch all season. And that attitude extends to the tasks as well. Being such a nice guy that his charity donation of the money and the gift was sweet, but also the perfect way to guilt the Taskmaster into giving him 5 points. And who can forget that when Catherine was reeling about needing to tie a tie during the final task of the season, Richard moved that comma to give her a chance. Part of the fun of Taskmaster is that it doesn't matter who wins the season, but it's like a perfect little cherry on top when the best player wins the game. In this case, Catherine deserved to win because she was both the best player and she was the best at tasks, which are clearly two different things. Though there was some bickering and arguing back with Greg in the first season, Catherine's the first contestant to openly just defy him, dig in, and keep arguing her position, even if she ultimately does not get the points. Look at her insistence that she made the best nursery rhyme video because she, you know, actually made it for kids. And when that final live task was announced, she literally chased Alex around the stage because he made the task unwinnable for her.
Because this is an example of the type of top-down misogyny that keeps people like me losing!
She's got gumption, I love her for it, and she's damn funny. Her very specific brand of chaotic humor matches almost perfectly with Greg and Alex. And though Richard broke the mold of the series first with that yoga ball challenge, Catherine did it often later in the series, like in the live throw a rabbit into your hat challenge. Not only did she immediately take off her hat and place it on the ground, but she also stole other contestants' rabbits to up her count. Sure, she opted out of the raw egg challenge, but sitting here as a human being who vomits in his mouth a little, even at the thought of a raw egg, I don't blame her. I get it, girl. You done good. Other than that, she was an excellent player across the board, having Alex catch kitty patatas.
Uncle Alex is gonna catch you. There you go. Yeah, yeah! Well done, Alex.
Hacking the Swedish challenge by phoning a friend. Plus, she supported Joe in Potatogate. Thank you. Now, my favorite Catherine Ryan moment actually takes place in her Champion of Champions outing, but her high point this season, and one of the high points of the series as a whole, didn't even earn her 5 points. I'll be talking about that moment momentarily. Momentarily? Yeah. To sum it up, Catherine is my queen of Taskmaster. All hail. The quality of the task writing this season is so high that the third worst task is still entirely decent. It's a group task, and Josh from season 1 returned to help the duo of Richard and John, and did so without much fanfare, and he didn't really add anything, but whatever. The trios are separated into gazebos, one with a blindfold, one with ear stoppers, and a third unable to speak, and somehow they need to communicate and get a potato from the first gazebo all the way to the third. It has the makings of a good task, but Alex made one fatal error. He allowed the use of cell phones. Both teams easily realized the hack, and the surprise and suspense were all cut out. Joe purchasing all those popsicles and beer almost redeemed this one, but Richard's juggling act was meh, Catherine's winning routine was adequate, and then there was John and Doc. Their singing was not only repetitive, but cringe-inducing in all the worst ways. I've only fast-forwarded through the show a few times, but ... Ugh, I wish I had fast-forwarded through this group task. Catherine, Doc, and Joe floundered in their creation. And though it was mildly amusing to see Joe get super grumpy while building the structure, and please note the quotation marks I put around structure, the ends did not justify the means. But then there was Richard and John. What the actual fuck were they doing? I still honestly have no idea. And John's racist impersonation brought the entire thing to a screeching halt. 2016 was not that long ago. How did no one stop him? How did it make it to air? Awful. I've already spoken at length about the importance of this task and how Richard's hack changed the dynamic of the show, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how the other contestants' performances were awesome as well. John and Joe's near meltdowns were delicious. It almost seems like God herself was punishing Joe by blowing the ball back down the hill at the exact funniest moment. Catherine grabs some randos and somehow spins the task into a feminist statement because of course she does. And like the watermelon gobbling from season 1, it's the perfect task to set the tone for the anarchy to come. Plus, you get Alex admitting that he likes being insulted after a furious John says, "Fuck you," to him. Look, I do not fault Greg for being guilted into choosing Richard's donation as the 5-pointer, and it is a bananas good gift. But I would argue that Catherine literally making Greg an official lord is one of the most ingenious solutions to a task in the series' history. Girl changed Greg's name and he didn't even know it. That's genius on a whole other level. I don't know why I'm using so many exclamation points, but I did. I loved it so much. Which do you think is a better gift? Let me know in the comments below. We've covered this task extensively elsewhere, and with good reason. It's series defining. I've talked about it 6 times on the video so far and haven't even gotten to the point where Joe crawls across the stage to beg Greg for the win. There's that much gold to mine here. Frankly, it's probably a top 5 task across all seasons of the entire series. So, aside from the racism, this is undeniably one of the top 3 or 4 finest seasons of the entire series. 3 of the contestants are all-timers. Greg and Alex simmering tension, it's never been cuter. And frankly, it just made me happy. What more can you ask for? I award Season 2 5 points out of 5. But what do you think? Is Catherine your queen? Would you have voted for Joe to get the points? And what would you buy Greg with? 20 pounds.